Hi friends, this is Dale from iTalkDEO. Today we're going to be talking about the negatives and the positives of Q&A. That's coming up next. We're going to talk about the negatives first, about Q&As. Now Q&As, people love to do Q&As, and there's three negatives that I want to point out that people fall in. First, and this is probably the most prevalent one of all of them. People think, I'll just throw a Q&A at the very end. Well, that is like me giving a child half a teddy bear. It's not complete. So why do you think somebody wants to hire a speaker, or better yet, hear you come and talk and only give part of a presentation? They want the whole presentation. So the first negative of Q&A is people think, I'll just wing the last 15 minutes of it. It's not what it's about. If you're hired or asked to give a 30-minute presentation, do a 30-minute presentation. The second problem with Q&A is the unwanted or the unaddressed questions. Now, when I talk about unaddressed questions, when we write our speech out, when we practice our speech, we should look for the gapping holes. Am I leaving out data that the audience would like to know? And it's very simple to figure out, is when you practice your presentation, ask somebody, very simply, did you understand anything? Do you have any questions? And you'll find in your presentations, people will scratch their head and go, what did you mean by this? That is one of those unaddressed questions. So when you're doing your Q&A, those are the questions that people are going to go, what did you mean by that definition? So that is the second problem, is unaddressed questions. The third benefits only one individual. What do I mean by that? How many times have you heard a speaker give a presentation, and at the presentation, somebody asks a question that may or may not be relevant to the topic? More so, they're asking a very detailed question, and the speaker starts to talk to them, and then says, well, tell you what, after the presentation, I would like you to come see me. It's only benefiting that one person. It's not really addressing the audience. So those are the three negative things that we have, and we should try to avoid them in Q&As. Now, the positive things that we have on Q&A is we can address deeper questions. There are times that we may stimulate an idea or a thought process in the audience, and they'll scratch their head and go, I never thought about that. Can I use? That is the second way of using a Q&A properly. Clarification is the second way. There are times that maybe you use an acronym, or you talk about a company or a process, and your audience is not familiar with it. It gives the way for the audience to ask a question about, how do I clarify this? Third, it can help you establish your credentials as an expert. Now, this is a minus and a positive tool. The minus is, if you're not an expert, you may be asked detailed questions that you just can't answer. But if you're an expert, when people ask you those questions, you could answer it. Fourth one, again, has a little plus and a little minus. This is your personality. Your personality allows to come to the audience. They get to see you interact with people. They get to see the real you. Now, the problem is, if you're a boring presenter, guess what? Your Q&As are going to be boring. So those are the four positive things about a Q&A. Now, let's talk about the question and answer part of the presentation. We spend hours preparing the presentation, but we need to plan our Q&A. But here are things that I would ask you to avoid. There's three of them. One, don't plan on having a confusing topic. Don't throw acronyms in and don't explain them. Don't give them topics that may be over the audience's head. What you're trying to do is when you give a speech is to break it out with an opening, middle, end. When doing that, you're wrapping everything up. Don't leave those tattered ends open where the audience gets confused. 2, the second one, and I've seen this written, and I've seen people do this. Don't plant somebody to ask your first question. How many times have you been asked, hey, if nobody asks a question, put your hand up and I'll call on you. Those are planted questions. And they don't benefit the audience because the planted question is really beneficial to nobody because the question you're asking has probably been addressed already in your presentation. The third is to draw questions from other speakers and seminars. Your job is to give a presentation, and your presentation has a start, middle, end. When you get to the Q&A, you're not going to be saying, oh yes, well, Bob's presentation and bringing in other presentation. That's not what the Q&A is about. The Q&A is about your talk. So when people give you questions about Q&A, you have to realize if you're tailing on to another presentation and questions can come from that presentation, talk to the other speaker in advance. Find out what they're talking about, and if there is two topics that interlocked, find out what those questions may be, or see how you could link your presentation with their presentation. Now here's something I want to give you. 5 techniques on how to create the perfect Q&A setup. Number 1, eye contact. I've seen this many times. Q&A presentation starts, and what happens? First question. Person gives you the question, and you start looking around the room as you listen to the question. Eye contact. Make eye contact with that individual. Look directly at that individual so they know you're talking to them and only them. Because in reality, that question is coming from them. Yes, it may be something else that somebody else in the audience wants to hear, but the purpose is you want to look at them. Secondly, is your body movement. When a person asks a question, again, people have a tendency to want to wander. It's not about wandering around the screen. Somebody asks you a question. So what do? We turn and position our body to give them 100% of our attention. We can lean in. We can walk forward. We can actually get closer to that person to say, your question matters. The third thing is you want to create a one-on-one personality. Again, we're making eye contact, we're moving our body in that direction, and we want that one-on-one response. Yes, you're replying to the whole audience, but again, the whole audience didn't ask the question. I want to make that connection with that one individual. The fourth is you want to answer the question. Now, when they ask the question, you may want to restate the question for clarification. Are you saying blah, blah, blah? Or are you asking me this? This is creating a dialogue. This allows the rest of the audience to, 1, hear the question, 2, verify the question because they may be asking that same question. The fifth technique. When you're doing your Q&A, you are looking at the individual. You are making the eye contact. You are answering their question as sincerely as you can. When done, you answer the question and you move your body. And what this does is add closure to let them know that you are done with them. There is no reason to keep staring at the person and ask, are you done? No, what you want to do is give your presentation and then break off and face somebody else. This tells the person at that point to sit down and relax. Now there comes a time where you will just not know the answer. Feel free to say, that's a great question. Can I follow up with you? The follow-up can be in form of, see me after the presentation. Let me research it, and I will contact you. I have an assistant who will follow up with you. Again, letting those people know that the detailed question they've asked, you don't have the answer off the top of your head. What you want to do is get back to them with a truthful answer. Those are the 5 things you need to do to create the perfect Q&A presentation. Now, I hope these tips on Q&A has helped you. And I want to reiterate, 1, don't plan on a Q&A. Give the presentation the full 30 minutes. 2, if you do have to do a Q&A, make sure it's relevant to your presentation. Don't plant people. Address their needs. Make that eye contact. Answer their questions sincerely. Till then, my name is Dale for iTalkDEO. I hope this has been successful. And I want you not to give out a partial Q&A. I want you to give the presentation that is your best and give them that full teddy bear, just like I have given you in this presentation. My name is Dale Abrocta for iTalkDEO. I hope you become part of my tribe and subscribe to iTalkDEO. Until next time, this is Dale telling you, go watch a video.